Do you mind if I shamelessly post this conversation to YouTube and I clickbait with your name like a shameless, dishonorable YouTuber? I promise I won't use your face in the thumbnail like this. No problem. Okay, cheers. Thanks. No, Max, no. No, I completely agree. That's what I did. I think I was the only person who did that with Season 2 patch. The reality of the Season 2 patch was that someone on the dev team is doing a good job. Someone is messing everything up. On a system level, you got good changes on the game. Like they buffed sidestep, they reduced chip damage, you have a punish UI. System level, they did good changes. But then someone else, or the same person, I don't know, there's no insight into a process, but someone else overtuned half a roster. Just clearly OP attacks. Sidesteps are better, but here are 59,000 homing unbeatable attacks. They had the idea that we are going to make Tekken 8 more aggressive because it was boring watching Tekken 7 esports sometimes. Like Arslan and E are just backdashing. There's too little interaction. Backdash is too strong. So we're gonna make a more aggressive game. And that's also going to be more pleasing for an audience watching our game. There's going to be more interaction between the players. It's more dynamic, and there's going to be more effects on the screen. Not everyone that watches on esport understands the intricate gameplay of Dota or Tekken. You need a lot of hours to understand what's going on the screen. But everyone understands flashy gameplay. This is how I think they motivated the aggressive nature of Tekken 8. Then the game drops, and we have Season 1. And the hardcore community go, this is too aggressive for us. It is too aggressive. And that's what people say for pretty much a year. You need to tone this down. And then they start toning things down. Homing throws go. They remove Heat Dash on block, doesn't wall crush anymore at the wall. So you get +5. You don't get +18. But then comes Season 2. They say, prior to Tekken Talk Live, that we have taken in the criticism now. We are going to focus more on defense, but in the most confused way. As I stated before, they show on a system level buffs to defense, but then they make the characters so overly buff that they completely counteract all the buffs to defense. I think there's like an identity crisis on the developer team with Tekken 8. Tekken 8 beta all the way to the end of Season 1, things made sense. They refined the gameplay, toned down the bullshit. It was close to being great. The developers were cooking. Suddenly it's a different game. Something doesn't line up. You are completely correct, Max. They were on a great trajectory. But do you know what the reality is of a Season 2 patch? If you roll out the patch again, but you remove all of the buffs and new attacks, you have a super good Tekken 8. If they just keep the nerfs and the system changes, the game is so much better than it's ever been. Without putting out the huge fire in the forest, they're adding additional fires. They negate each other. You can't buff sidesteps and give everyone a homing plus attack. They can't coexist. That's the problem. They want both things. They want a more aggressive Tekken 8 and a more defensive Tekken 8 in the same patch. It felt like two different teams with two completely different goals were working, at least with Season 1, where vision was focused. For 48 hours, I just chose to not give an opinion on Season 2 because I wanted to see everything, but the more I saw this. Either it's two people, I likened it to two firefighters show up to a raging fire. One is pouring water from his hose on the fire, but the other guy is just going gasoline. Yeah, I think a lot of, hardcore gamers, they forget what casuals are. The Tekken community, it's so widespread by like elitist players to call someone who's reached Garyu rank a casual. Someone who's played a lot of online Tekken is not a casual. A casual is someone who like you said, a casual is someone who buys the game, plays it for a weekend. Maybe plays it with their brother and sister or a friend for a weekend, in the couch, they play story mode. And they watch the endings and they go, oh, that's fun. And maybe they customize a character a little bit. And then they're done. And then they move on to the next big AAA game they want to play. You know, that's a casual. Why would you even with a game like Tekken try to appeal to casuals? Because in my opinion, you've already done that with story mode and the graphics. You did your part. But now, my God, who are the people who are going to stay with your product? It's people like me. Your hardcore community who's been there for decades. Focus more on us and the game we want to play. But I gotta say, Max, hasn't this happened a little bit to Street Fighter as well? I just feel like with Bison, I was so surprised to see that his scissor kick is no longer a charge. You just do a core circle forward. And then his super is not a charge either, it's just double core circle forward. And then drive rush, you know, on Oki, to constantly force throw strike mix up. I don't know, I feel like I see a little bit of that as well, like appealing a little bit more to, well, quote unquote, casuals. Yeah, it's happening a little bit with Street Fighter, it seems. But yeah, it's not nearly as problematic as what has happened in Tekken. No, I agree. They added a lot of nuance to Street Fighter as well, and I'm a fan of a drive system. DI, drive rush. It gets a little bit overwhelming sometimes for me when it's just drive rush mix up into drive rush mix up, because the cool part about Street Fighter to me is when you're just walking in the neutral and you're looking to anti-air or like projectiles, or I feel like on certain characters, drive rush is just in one frame getting in someone's face, and I'm not sure I'm a huge fan. But I still like what drive rush does in a lot of situations though, as well. But drive reversal, yeah, it's cool. It's cool mechanics, yeah. But what I dislike is also the lack of insight on Bandai Namco's part into the Tekken process, what we're doing with the game. They never say anything. I don't know if Capcom is better with that. Oh, no. Street Fighter is a hardcore game. Of course, it's not a casual game. But the thing with Tekken is, like, can you think of a more overwhelming game to pick up as a beginner than Tekken? That's a great quality about Street Fighter, in my opinion, that after just an hour, I feel like you're playing against the player, you know, it's mind games. In Tekken, it takes like weeks or months of playing against the character, and then getting to the meat and potatoes of the gameplay, and now you're playing mind games with the other person. It takes forever in Tekken, like. But that's why I've also felt like Tekken is it's an amazing game, amazing nuanced game, but it's the cheesiest fighting game out there. It's so easy to cheese in Tekken. The sad reality of this patch is that so much is fixed. Like Brian, for example, if you just look at his nerfs, they're amazing. His Requiem, Corsoco Forward 1+2, is no longer a homing invincible attack. The thing with Brian is that, you know, in Season 1, he's playing Street Fighter. You can't sidestep him. In Season 2, you can't step him. He no longer has the best neutral in the game. But then what did they do? They give him a super dumb full crouch mix-up that is busted and also doesn't fit the character identity. If you just roll out Season 2 again, remove all of the new moves and buffs, you have the best Tekken 8 so far.